Now for that, I'm back in the events project as we left it. Attached you find my snapshot, and there we can spin up that development server again with npm run dev. If we then visit localhost 3000, we see our events page, and we can explore the individual events and do all those things we already practiced in the last project section. Now, up to this point, of course, all the data is in the end hard-coded into our pages. Actually, not in the page components themselves, but we have this dummy data JavaScript file which, well, holds all that data and then exposes various helper functions for retrieving that data and working with that data. And that ultimately is not really how we now want to work with that. It would be more realistic that this data, our events, are stored in some database or in some file or coming from another API. And here I want to put those events into Firebase, this dummy backend we already used in the last course section, so that we can fetch the data from there. Just so that we have an easy to use backend which exposes an API which we can query. Now I have my sales data in there from the last course section. I'm using the same Firebase project. You could of course also create a new one, just make sure that you do use the real-time database. I will continue with this one though, and I will add my events here into that same database. So for that, we can click on the plus here next to that database name and give this a name of events, this node, and then add a new nested document in there, which now has basically the event ID as a name, E1 let's say, and then we nest more data in there and we transfer the title into Firebase. So I'll give this key a name of title, and the value then is the title I had here, like this. And now I'm going to add all the other data as well, like the description. So I'll grab that description string here, give this a name of description, paste in that value, and repeat that for the location and so on. Now I don't want to bore you, so I will fast forward here. You of course can migrate this on your own. Just pause the video and migrate it until you're done. You also don't have to migrate all the data, of course, if you don't want to. I will migrate all the data though, but you can of course also speed this process up a bit and just migrate some data. Important for the images, we want to keep the paths which we used before, because I will keep the images local in the public folder. That's not super realistic, and we will re-explore image storage later again, but for the moment let's stick to this setup. So I will just keep the path which points to the locally stored images in the public folder here. So therefore here I now add is featured, set this to false, and now again I will just complete this off screen and I'm back once I migrated all the events. Okay, so I'm done. I copied over all the data here into Firebase, those 3 events, and therefore this is now prepared such that we can query it. That's therefore what we're going to dive in next. Now for this course section, I strongly recommend that you don't continue with me immediately, but that instead you pause and you try implementing data fetching on your own first. Go through those different pages and think about the different data fetching approaches you learned in the last lectures, in the last section. Then add the different approaches which make the most sense to you to the different pages. So look at the pages, evaluate which data fetching approach might make the most sense for the given page, and then add it. Now, once you tried this on your own, definitely go through this module together with me, with these modules lectures, to see how I solved this and what my reasoning was for fetching data in different ways in those different page components.